Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 83. We're going to talk about Lone Wolf from 1988. I watched this on Plex. I had not seen this before. As always, we begin with the prominent crew and cast. This film was directed by John Callis, written by Michael Kruger, with effects makeup by Vincent J. Gastini. If my research is correct, this film is John Callis' first directorial job. Michael Kruger broke into the film industry in 1987. His career was cut short when he passed away in 1990. Vincent J. Gastini started working in special effects makeup at the age of 22. Lone Wolf was one of his first films, but most certainly not his last. His break into the big time was The Last of the Mohicans in 1991. We will see more of his work as part of this project. In fact, I may have identified a film in his filmography that should have been on my list, but wasn't, so that's good news. Cast includes Diane Brown as Julie Martin, Kevin Hart as Joel Jessup, no, not that Kevin Hart, Jamie Newcomb as Eddie, Ann Douglas as Deidre, Siren as Colleen, Jeff Hams as Joseph Simons. This is Diane Brown, Ann Douglas, Siren, and Jeff Harms' only IMDb credit. Kevin Hart and Jamie Newcomb have only slightly longer filmographies. Keep this in mind for later discussions. I enjoyed this a lot, but only as a flashback to the 80s. However, it is a bad movie. Avoid this one, unless you want to laugh at a time when computers were just beginning to hit the mainstream and big hair was a big deal. Now let's move on to the synopsis. A claw, a scream. Young couple, Skip and Julie, argue on Lover's Lane. Julie won't let him drive drunk, so he storms out. Bad decision, Skip. A werewolf attacks. A rock band performs a show. Eddie does not like all the makeup and theatrics the band adds. It's about the music, man. During the day, Eddie attends junior college. It's a part of his probation. The cops try to keep a lid on Skip's death. They conclude that it was wild dogs. A young man named Joel gets picked on like it's high school. Eddie and Julie rescue him. They have chemistry, obviously. All the college students are studying computer programming. The rockers and the jocks get into a fight. I don't think your probation officer is going to like this, Eddie. The basketball player who started the fight follows a mysterious goth girl, Deidre, down an alley. The werewolf attacks. Some blue-collar assholes laugh at a bar. One of them turns out to be Eddie's Uncle Jack. Eddie shits on blue-collar workers. It's all about the music, man. The band is making it. They get 4 more weeks of gigs. Deidre makes a date with a jock at night in the park. While looking for her, the werewolf attacks. They sure are making it look like Deidre is the werewolf, so she probably isn't. Deidre is obsessed with Eddie. After their set, one of the band, Frank, hooks up with Deidre's friend, Colleen. Deidre makes her play for Eddie, who makes a run for it. The community gets upset when Skip's dad crashes a neighborhood watch meeting, distraught over his son's death. Julie feels guilty. Joel consoles her. 1 month later, Joel and Julie decide to use the power of computers to investigate the mysterious deaths. Eddie looks like he's having a panic attack on stage and flees the bar. Deidre follows while menacing music plays. Uncle Jack stumbles home drunk. The werewolf attacks and rips out his heart. Joel and Julie hack into the police and college computers. They almost kiss because computers are romantic. They get busted by their professor, who then makes a call and anonymously accuses Eddie of being the murderer. Back on Lover's Lane, Colleen and another jock argue. The werewolf almost attacks. Joel breaks into Julie's room while she sleeps because he has news and to drum up some cheap suspense. The jock drops Colleen off at Deidre's house. No one is home, and now the werewolf attacks. Lucky for Colleen, Deidre lives near. Julie and the hackers see the werewolf. For some reason, the werewolf flees. We get a good look at it, and it's dressed a lot like Eddie. Joel studies up on lycanthropy and decides that they need a silver bullet. He gets 3. Officer Kaminsky laughs off a potential werewolf sighting. The Sarge, however, takes it seriously. Joel and Julie plan to meet up at the college to work on their database. Eddie helps Joel pick the lock. Colleen and Deidre come with Julie, so all the main players end up at the computer lab when the cops show up. There are lots of cheap jump scares here. The Sarge moves to take the 3 girls and Eddie down to the station. Kaminsky investigates a sound and finds another dead body. Eddie helps the girls escape from the cops. The cops suspect the 5 young adults, which causes the 5 to turn on each other for an intense second, until Joel talks sense into all of them. That night is the big school winter costume ball. Eddie's band plays without him. For some unknown reason, Eddie puts on a werewolf costume. In classic horror movie fashion, the gang splits up. Joel leaves the gun with Julie. The werewolf attacks and beheads a professor during the costume contest judging. Lots of students and cops are killed too. The werewolf shrugs off the cops' bullets, but they corner it in a classroom. Eddie finally shoots the werewolf with a silver bullet as it tries to escape. It turns out it was Professor Simmons, the computer programming teacher. Joel and Julie end up together. Eddie hooks up with Deidre, and the band gets a recording deal. The final scene shows an injured student turning into a werewolf at the hospital. The end. One transformation scene is not the worst I've seen, not by a long shot. It's just not the best either. But for the budget, I was actually impressed. They do limit themselves to very tight shots, which I think was a wise choice. I wasn't as impressed with the overall look of the werewolf. That did feel bargain basement cheap, but it probably was, again, based on the budget they had. Now, this look sticks to the basic Hollywood werewolf script. Full moon, infectious werewolf, mindless killer, injured by silver. It's stuck to the unknown werewolf formula, even throwing out red herrings. Nothing new on Werewolf Lore. The first thing I want to talk about is overacting. Overacting by inexperienced actors is a common pitfall in the performing arts, particularly noticeable in student films, community theater, and, as we see here, low-budget productions. Unlike the intentional exaggeration employed by seasoned professionals in certain genres, this overacting stems from a lack of training, nervousness, or a misunderstanding of the craft of acting, resulting in unintentionally comedic or cringe-inducing performances. Inexperienced actors frequently fall into overacting due to a fundamental misconception about the nature of performance. Many beginners believe that more is more, that bigger gestures, louder voices, and exaggerated facial expressions convey stronger emotions. Novices might furiously wave their arms to show anger or contort their faces excessively to express sadness, without the nuance making such choices effective. Lack of body awareness also plays a significant role. Trained actors use their bodies and voices with precision, understanding how small changes in posture, tone, or facial expression can convey complex emotions. Novices, however, often lack this physical vocabulary. When trying to express feelings, they may resort to broad, uncontrolled movements, flipping their arms for despair, clutching their chests for heartbreak, without realizing how exaggerated these gestures appear on camera. The absence of subtextual understanding further encourages bad overacting. Great performances often involve what's unspoken, the thoughts, desires, and tensions lurking beneath the dialogue. Inexperienced actors focusing on the lines may miss the layers. Instead, they try to convey everything through surface-level emoting, leading to on-the-nose performances where every feeling is loudly telegraphed without depth or contradiction. Now, this ignorance in the purposes and methods leads directly to another major factor contributing to bad overacting, the anxiety many newcomers feel in front of a camera. The pressure to perform and self-consciousness can lead to exaggerated behaviors. An inexperienced actor, terrified of forgetting lines or looking stupid, might compensate by being overly loud or physical. Similarly, the desire to be seen as passionate or committed can drive beginners to push performances, mistaking intensity for authenticity. Poor direction exacerbates the problems. Some inexperienced directors, themselves unsure about acting techniques, give vague instructions, like be sadder or show more anger. Without specific guidance on how to modulate their performances, new actors may simply amplify what they're already doing, turning a mediocre portrayal into a scenery-chewing one. This lack of nuanced direction is particularly common in student films or amateur productions, where directors are learning right alongside their cast. Now, the influence of certain actors also contributes to novices overreacting. Young performers often admire stars known for grand, Oscar-winning performances. Think Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant or Al Pacino in Scent of a Woman. Aspiring to emulate these tour de force moments, beginners may copy the intensity without recognizing the skill, preparation, and context making those performances work. The result is akin to a novice guitarist attempting to shred an Eddie Van Halen solo before mastering fundamental chord progressions and technique, a cacophonous display lacking the foundational skills to produce the true artistry. Now, bad overacting by inexperienced actors has various effects. In dramas, it can unintentionally induce laughter, undermining serious moments. In comedies, where timing and restraint produce the best laughs, it can make jokes fall flat. And in horror films, where suspense and dread are crucial, that overacting can undermine the intended sense of fear and tension, inadvertently transforming terrifying scenes into unintentionally campy farces. Generally, such performances distract viewers from the story, drawing attention away from the story to the actor's lack of technique rather than the character's journey. However, it's crucial to remember that overacting is a stage that most actors go through at some point. Most professionals can recount early embarrassing attempts at conveying emotion. Learning to calibrate one's performance, to trust that a flicker of the eyes can say more than a dramatic wail, is part of the journey. Through training, observation, and practice, those who initially overact can develop the skills to deliver powerful and controlled performances. So now let's move on and talk about computers. The 80s marked a pivotal decade for computers in cinema, reflecting and shaping public perceptions of this rapidly evolving technology. Personal computers were entering homes and workplaces, and films explored the potential impact, oscillating between technophobic caution and techno-utopian optimism. Early in the decade, computers in films often embodied Cold War anxieties. In War Games in 1983, a young hacker unwittingly accesses NORAD's supercomputer, nearly triggering nuclear war. The film tapped into fears that emerging computer networks would make the world more vulnerable. Similarly, Tron from 1982 portrayed the digital realm as an oppressive dystopia where programs are forced to compete in gladiatorial games, a metaphor for the dehumanization of the computer age. However, not all 80s films painted computers as threats. Some depicted them as tools for empowering underdogs. Revenge of the Nerds from 1984 suggested that technological prowess would level social hierarchies. More profoundly, Real Genius in 1985 showed brilliant young programmers applying their talents to solve complex problems, hinting at Silicon Valley's emerging tech for good ethos. Business-oriented films often used computers to symbolize modernity and ambition. In Wall Street from 1987, Gordon Gekko's high-tech office, complete with multiple screens displaying real-time market data, signifies his cutting-edge approach to finance. Though the film critiques his ethics, it acknowledges that mastery of information technology provides a competitive edge. Films like Lone Wolf and Wolfen explore computers as the future of crime fighting, with a mixed bag of results. The 80s also saw computers become central to science fiction narratives. James Cameron's The Terminator in 1984 envisions a dark future where AI gains sentience and violently turns against humanity. While Short Circuit from 1986 gave us Johnny Five, a military robot who develops human-like sentience. Cute and curious, Johnny Five suggested that advanced AI might not be inherently threatening, but could develop positive, even endearing qualities. As the decade progressed, films began acknowledging that computers' growing role in daily life. Ferris Bueller's Day Off in 1986 humorously shows its protagonist using his computer to hack school records and create a fake emergency message and alter his grades. By the late 80s, some films even hinted at the impending digital revolution. Back to the Future Part 2 from 1989, set partly in 2015, imagines a world with video conferencing, wearable tech, and ubiquitous screens, some of which have indeed become reality. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan on discussing Howling 4, the original Nightmare from 1988. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back next episode.